So, the first season of HBO's The Last of Us adaptation has finally come to a conclusion, and I got some thoughts on it. Now, as an avid lover of both Part 1 and Part 2, I beat both games twice now. I was very eager and anxious to get started with the show and see how they tackled this monster of a story. Now, obviously, before we get started, spoilers for Part 1 and HBO show, and a little tiny baby Last of Us 2 spoilers. Anyways, that being said, let's dive in. Now, before the show aired, my immediate nitpicks were with the casting. So I was A-okay with Pedro Pascal playing Joel. I thought he looked the part. I knew he had the acting chops. I was not worried about him at all. But then I saw this Bella Ramsey girl is going to be playing Ellie, and I was like, whoa. No. I was like, HBO, what the hell are you guys doing? This girl looks nothing like Ellie. What? I was not rocking with it. And boy, did I eat my words, because this girl is Ellie. She does justice to this character and really brings her to life. And even though she might not look 100% like Ellie, she is going to perfectly embody Ellie and bring her to life on screen. And at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, would you rather have an actress who looks just like Ellie, but does not at all act like her? Or would you rather have an actress who might not look perfect to Ellie, but perfectly brings her spirit and energy to life on the big screen? I'd certainly take the second option. But the whole purpose of this video is for me to go through some of the episodes and talk about changes from the game that I liked, some changes I didn't like, those kind of overall thoughts. Let's dive in. Now, listen, Last of Us community, put on your listening ears for me. I know we all have very strong opinions about this piece of property that we love so much, which is the Last of Us universe. I got my opinions, you got your opinions, and that's awesome. I love that for us. We can each have our own opinions, and it's okay. So if I say something that maybe you don't agree with, it's okay. You ain't gotta get all mad. I don't deserve a golf club to the head. But that being said, let's get into it. I'm not really going to be talking about these things in episodic order. I'll probably just kind of be bouncing around a little bit. That's just how my brain works. But yeah. So starting off, my absolute favorite change happens in episode 5, the heartbreaking Sam and Henry story, when in the game, Joel and Ellie, Sam and Henry get attacked by a sniper. Joel splits off, takes care of business. He gets on the sniper rifle and he protects Sam, Henry, and Ellie from clickers. Now, in the show, same thing goes down. There's a sniper. Joel takes care of it. But this annoying-ass lady, Kathleen, and her gang are just so bloodthirsty to kill Sam and Henry for whatever reason. They pull up, got him at gunpoint, and then a sinkhole forms and absolute clicker mayhem ensues. And I loved every second of it. I was so giddy during that whole scene because all I wanted was just to see more clickers. And I felt like we were not seeing any throughout the show. And then we got this scene. Made me just so happy. Finally got to see a live action bloater. It was cool seeing it pull off one of its classic kills on the OG Tommy voice actor. But that whole scene just added so much more tension to that scene, and I loved it. Now for something I did not like very much, jumping over to the ending of episode 6. I knew while I was watching the episode that it would have to end with Joel and Ellie at the university, just so that the timeline is kind of keeping up with where the game would be. And I was right, so I was very excited to see that classic scene of Joel falling 2 stories onto that piece of rebar that just impales him straight through the stomach, and Ellie has to pull him off of it and then drag him to safety. It is one of the most memorable scenes from the entire game. So I was so excited to see my boy Pedro fall on a piece of rebar. But no, what happens to Pedro? He just gets little prick, little baseball bat thing, just a little tiny stab in the belly. Little Pedro got a little stab in the belly. No, I wanted to see rebarb go through his stomach. But we didn't get that. But it's whatever. I guess the show is still good. Now, also in episode 6, something that I loved was Jackson. Oh my gosh. I was not expecting to see Last of Us 2 Jackson in this, because in the game, we don't actually see the inside of Jackson, I don't think at all. And Joel and Ellie don't arrive there until the end of the game. Because Tommy was holed up by that dam in the game. Here, it was just completely replaced with Jackson, which I was okay with, but we don't get to see that interior, especially snowy Jackson, until Last of Us 2. That's how that game starts. It's inside snowy Jackson. We even got to see a little Shimmer. Moment of silence for Shimmer's future. And I also remember before this episode aired, I was like, how crazy would it be if we saw a little Dina running around? And guess what? There was a little Dina running around. I could not believe it. As soon as I saw that little girl peeking, looking at Ellie, I was like, oh! Now, episode 8 was something else. It's pretty crazy that the scariest thing in this apocalyptic world is still just a kooky white man. But this episode was pretty perfect to the game's counterpart. I really love some of the foreshadowing of Ellie's character in part 2 that we hear a little bit of during David and Ellie's caged chat. One small thing that I'm kind of sad was not included in that episode was when David and Ellie are holed up in that little shelter waiting for Jamie to come back with the medicine, and they get ran up on by a whole bunch of clickers in the game. They have to fight off a whole swarm of clickers and even a bloater at the end. That would have been kind of cool to see in the show, especially since HBO really did not play heavily into the clickers. We only saw Joel fight one clicker the whole show. So that kind of sucked. Let's talk about Outbreak Day, because that was perfect with a capital P. I was literally quoting half the dialogue during the driving scenes. Like, I knew exactly what they were going to say when they said it. It was so perfect. The shots were lined up and angled exactly like how it looks in the game. HBO, let me ask you, why did you guys feel the need to replace the coldest line in the entire game with just no? When Joel and Ellie are about to wreck the car and the guy comes up and he's limping and Ellie's like, are you gonna go save him? Joel goes, he ain't even hurt, and then runs over him. In this, Ellie goes, are we gonna save him? He just goes, no, and then drives. Dude, that was one of the best lines in the game. I was so eager to hear that, but they just said no. Just no. All right, man, it's whatever. At least we still got that's okay. No, I believe him. In episode 8. Another just incredible line from the game. Joel and Ellie's relationship was shown so beautifully in the show. Two scenes that hit me in the heart were the scene at the end of episode 4 when they get to share a laugh together, and at the end of episode 8 after Ellie hacked up Mr. David and is getting comforted by Joel, and he calls her baby girl, which he has not said that to anyone since his daughter, which she had died 20 years ago. Pedro and Bella bring these characters to life, and having Joel and Ellie being two of my favorite fictional characters ever, it was pretty incredible seeing him get brought to life on the big screen like that. Now into the finale. Only 43 minutes for some horrendous reason, but the show's finale finals the final chapter of the game pretty much to a T. I think they definitely should have made it 50 minutes and just added that one scene in between the sweet giraffe moment and them getting caught by the fireflies. They should have just added in the tunnel that they have to travel through in the game, the tunnel that is filled with clickers, infected, and bloaters. They gotta crawl through and sneak through this whole tunnel, and then they get caught. That would have been great. We finally would have gotten to see some clickers one last time before the show ended, but it's whatever, because that hospital scene really made up for it. But the episode was pretty perfect. I'm so happy that the show ended on the exact same note that the game ended. They have that final conversation between Joel and Ellie was, I want to say, like bar for bar to the game, and I'm very glad that it ends the exact same way, exact same shot, exact same cutoff, exact same song plays for the credits. It was great, and it left me with the exact same hole in my heart that I felt after I beat the game for the first time. But Craig Mazin and HBO did a knockout job of bringing this dark and beautiful story to light, and it's giving it more attention, all deserved. I mean, this game was groundbreaking in 2013. Like, to have a story that rich in a video game in 2013, like, that was crazy. So I'm glad that it's getting brought to a wider audience today. More people get to experience this incredible story like a whole decade later. But I'm very excited to see how they're going to tackle season 2, because part 2 is a monster of a story. You can hear me talk all about why that's the most misunderstood game of all time in my late to the party video on that. But I mean, part 1 and part 2 are like neck and neck for me. Part 2 might just be like just a smidge, just a little tiny eeny weeny bitty baby little itty bitty little bit higher than part 1, just by a smidge. I really like part 2, but part 1's amazing. This HBO show was great adaptation. The video game adaptation curse has finally been lifted. There is a good video game adaptation out. People go play The Last of Us and then go watch it. Don't watch it and then play it. Play it, then watch it. That's all I really got to say on it. Deuces.